Filipinos are not fond of talking about death, thinking that to do so is morbid. This is why it has never been a common practice to prepare a will, because most people do not want to think about their deaths. In the Philippines, it is more common for an heir to receive his inheritance through intestate succession, as applied by Chapter 3 of the Civil Code of the Philippines. Intestate succession is the legal succession of an heir to their inheritance in the absence of a will. The division of inheritance is in accordance with the relationship or the degree of the relationship of the deceased to the heir or benefactor. The Civil Code of the Philippines has provided rules on how the division of the deceased properties will take place. However, many Filipinos still find this confusing. Others think that it is not fair, while the rest wonder if this can be contested in court. In the case of intestate succession, how should the properties be divided amongst loved ones? Who should get the bigger share of the inheritance according to the law? And can an intestate succession be contested by the descendants? Good evening. You're watching Legal Help Desk on the Solar News channel. This show is about making the law work for you by giving legal advice on topics that matter to you. I'm Attorney Karen Jimeno.
And I'm Attorney Rod Nepomuceno. In continuation of our topic last week, tonight we will discuss your legal rights on intestate succession, what you need to know about intestate, or what we call legal succession, and the division of inheritance among heirs according to the Civil Code of the Philippines.
Our guest for tonight is Attorney Alfredo Lazaro Jr., head of Lazaro Law Firm and Professor of Law at the Pamantasan ng Lungsod ng Manila. Good evening and thank you for being with us. Attorney Ding Dong.
Hi, Attorney Ding Dong, good evening.
Hi,
Thank you for joining us. And last week our topic was about testate succession, so meaning succession with a will. So now we're going to be talking about succession naman, because we couldn't handle it in one episode.
So simply, I guess we focused last week on how do you make sure na organize yung pagpapamana mo, or what to make sure na maging valid yung will, what you have to observe. But this time, I think this is the more common situation for most Filipinos.
Yeah.
Someone passes away related within the family na walang written will.
And ironically, probably more complex and more complicated.
It depends on the factual.
All right, so let's start with intestate succession. So intestate succession happens when you don't have a will. Maybe we'll start off with what happens. Okay, so person dies, no will. What does a family do?
Well, the first thing you do is
hold awake.
Apart from that.
Besides that is, of course, when you have to go to court already and open the estate of whoever died. And
so it has to be always in court.
Yes, well, there's no will. Right?
That's a default. But I guess later we'll talk about yung exception. Pag talagang sobrang liit ng properties, you can divide among yourselves.
That's what you call division of a small estate.
Sige, let's go first to, assuming you have a
reasonable
relatively,
estate. Let's say you have a reasonable estate.
So
yes, and the heirs normally are in agreement that they can have an extrajudicial settlement. They just divide the properties among themselves.
Extrajudicial settlement.
Yes,
Okay.
they can do
So
it.
and in this case, while they're agreeing na, okay, let's just divide this organized way among ourselves, that's what you call extrajudicial settlement. At what point do you go to court?
Well, if you suppose somebody, you have to, for example, who are the heirs? You have to go to court to determine who are those who are entitled to get a part of the estate. Some people normally have a problem determining as to who are the legitimate heirs, who are the illegitimate children, and blah, 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 as it goes on.
And who are the compulsory heirs,
Yes.
diba?
Well, basically, it's the legal heirs normally have to fight. Like, he's not my brother. The other one says, no, he is our half-brother. So you have to go to prove filiation already. You have to go to court for that one.
Okay.
So, Attorney Ding Dong, just to clarify, if someone passes away, regardless if you among your siblings are in agreement that tayo-tayo na lang, we don't need lawyers, you still have to go to court right away to open the estate for
No, not necessarily.
succession?
You can have an approval of the extrajudicial settlement. Like you
Just an
want to
approval
divide
of
it.
the, you have a deal
But this is
already.
assuming na wala nga nagko-contest na I'm a sibling,
Yes, it becomes complicated when you're rich. Because there's so many assets to it. But when it's as much, the premise is a simple family, with the modest, then you can
So
easily divide them.
you have
among
that
yourselves.
extrajudicial settlement to, okay, this property is yours, this property is yours. But really, they're guided, I suppose, by a particular proportionate sharing provided by the law, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay, so as a general rule,
Normally, children inherit in equal shares. That's basically, everything is equal.
everything is
It's
equal.
Now,
right?
the wife will have the same share as a legitimate child.
Okay, so basically you have 100% of, this is the estate.
Yes.
And
Assuming
they have,
1 million
yeah.
pesos yung value ng
Yeah.
whole
Then
Then
estate.
you
have-
divide,
You have
there
a
are five,
little
there are
wife.
5, 4 kids and a wife, you divide it into 5.
Divided to 5. So that's yung mathematics. Now, just for our televiewers, appreciation.
Yes.
Whenever you talk about that, we have to take into consideration already the 1/2 share of the spouse. Let's
That's
remove
a community
that.
property.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
you
so,
have to. Yes.
yeah.
So in this case, 1 million
yeah.
pesos, just as an example, you have 1 legitimate wife, 4 kids. So the legitimate wife will have one half
of the
of
share.
the estate. So it's only going to be 500,000. And
Then
then
you
you divide that among the 4 kids and the wife, so they go 100,000 pesos.
So the wife basically gets her 50% and then
And-
gets to share
yes.
as one legitimate child
Yes.
in that what you call the estate of
Yes.
the decedent. No?
Correct.
Kunyari kung
And
ano,
we have to
correct.
clarify to our audience, this is the case if the spouses do not have a prenuptial agreement, or if basically they were married under the family code na may absolute community of property, meaning hati talaga 50-50 yung totality na assets ng husband
Okay,
and
so
the wife.
that's a simple thing.
But you're talking about
yeah.
dissolution of the community property. That is, I think,
Yes.
the property, the
Oo.
premise. You
Correct,
dissolve
Trying to
correct.
simplify here. Yeah.
That's right. Now, okay, so to simplify things, if you don't have children, it's just a spouse. The spouse gets
Gets everything. And
Alright?
whoever.
But
Or-
if you have, let's say, if there's a spouse and my parents are still alive, or my parents are still alive and I have a spouse,
There'll be a division.
there'll be a division of.
Magkano yung mga hatian nila? Let's
Well,
go to 1 million pesos again for
Normally half-half
simplicity.
yan eh.
Normally
Okay.
half. Half to the
So
spouse.
half to the
and
and
half
half,
to
to
the-
the parents. So it's going to
There's
be
actually,
again
you know-
take away the 500,000. That's the half of the wife, and then 500,000, 250 to the
Yes.
wife, 250,000. Kailangan mag-share yung parents nung
that's right.
nung
So
deceased spouse.
these are all in a table, right?
There's a table.
There's a table for this.
Yes,
Yeah. Okay.
there's a lot of scenarios, like who are the surviving heirs,
Okay.
right?
Yes.
Entitled to succession. So there are legitimate children, illegitimate children, ascendants.
Yeah,
You know,
maraming permutations.
A lot of
Maraming permutations.
variations,
yan.
yes.
All right, let's talk about na lang the exclusions. Meaning kung if a particular heir is around, sino ma-exclude as a compulsory heir? So for example, if you have children, automatically excluded yung ascendants.
Meaning yung mga tito, tita,
Parents,
mga
even parents.
Parents, oo.
okay, lolo't lola.
All right, okay, so
Yes,
that's clear.
that's
But
clear.
if you have let's say a spouse does not exclude
No,
anyone.
no.
So basically, if you have a spouse, the spouse will have to share with everyone else.
Well, let's put it this way: if the scenario is no kids, no ascendants, the spouse,
Spouse gets everything, correct. All right, let's complicate things a little bit. Yung illegitimate children, we all know.
Yeah.
Well,
That's-
again,
that's
Illegitimate
quite
children,
enough,
how
yeah.
much would be a share of an illegitimate children?
well, a legitimate child gets, assuming that there are legitimate children, he or she will get 1/2 the share of a legitimate child.
Legitimate child.
So,
Okay.
in
Now,
our,
if there are no other kids, like example is a playboy, he has no wife,
No wife,
all illegitimate
all
children.
illegitimate children.
Then they all get the entire estate.
they get the entire, they will
Provided
divide
nobody's-
it. But what if the illegitimate children survive with the parents? Can the parents claim that they have a share? And normally,
The
di ba?
legitimate-
Yes.
of course.
So the parents will have a share apart
No, but
from
normally,
the
if it's,
illegitimate.
but the descendants normally excludes the one.
Exclude the
Yeah,
parents.
so in this case, the parents cannot argue that lahat naman ng anak namin, ng son namin, are illegitimate. Therefore, we are the only ones entitled to his estate. Is that
In other words,
correct?
in other words, I guess the question is, does the illegitimacy allow for exclusion
Yes.
of
Yes.
ascendants?
Oh yes, because they're still the children, right? They're still entitled to it.
Okay.
So the rule is still descendants
Yes,
first,
descendants.
and no. Okay.
And then, again, you mentioned earlier kanina na one of the complications might be if meron mga iba pang anak from outside, right? So, assuming you've already divided the properties, kunwari kami ni Rod, magkapatid kami, and we wanted an extrajudicial settlement, meaning when our last parent, for instance, passed away, we agreed na para simple na lang, let's just divide it among ourselves and then extrajudicial settlement tawag, di ba? And then after that, 2 months after, may dumating na claiming that this person is our half brother. How do we then, can this person then compel us to redo everything?
Well, he has to file a case in court to claim his inheritance, claiming that he was deprived of his share.
And then
from
he
the
has
estate.
to prove that he is really an illegitimate child of our
Well, that will
parent.
be, he will claim that, right? Now it's up now for the oppositors to say that, look, you're not an heir.
Where's the presumption? The presumption is that he's not an heir.
No, but he's the one on the affirmatives. He has to
So
prove
he has to prove it.
Right?
Okay. Now, are there instances where there was a will, but intestacy or intestate succession still comes into play?
Oh, yes. If the will is invalidated, for example, if there was preterition
During probate.
during probate, or you cannot implement the provisions of the will, it does not state who are the proper heirs who can get this, then the intestate succession will
come in.
apply.
Okay, very interesting. And we still have a lot of questions. For now, we'll have to take a short break. Legal Help Desk will return after these messages. You're still watching Legal Help Desk on the Solar News Channel with our guest, Attorney Alfredo Lazaro Jr.
All right. So we're talking about intestate succession. So a decedent dies, or a person dies without a will, and you mentioned earlier that the heirs should now apply in court, diba?
Yes.
Now, who appoints the administrator who will sort of like manage all of
And
this?
I think, Rod, when you're saying administrator, that's already yung medyo may contention or on how to distribute the estate. Because our first scenario was kung simple lang. Hindi nag-away, nag-agree yung mga heirs na let's just divide this. So extrajudicial settlement, meaning you don't really have to prove kung sino yung mga ano. You just divide it and then have the court approve your settlement or division of property.
That's for simple properties.
Yes.
But if there are many, or you have to look for the properties of the decedent, then they normally apply, there is a administrator who is appointed who will represent the estate.
I mean, do the heirs present a possible administrator?
They can nominate who they want.
Okay.
Then the court can either adopt it, if there will be no opposition. If there will be somebody who will oppose it, then naturally the court will determine who is the best administrator.
And then in the meantime, who really preserves the property? Meaning, who has a right to make sure that the real estate taxes are paid? Or paano kung may mga pinaparent? Where do the lease payments go in the meantime?
It goes to the estate, theoretically, to be handled by the administrator. That's why there is an administrator.
Okay.
Will
So,
that
hindi
be
pwedeng,
escrow?
in the meantime, kumukuha na yung mga
It
ibang
cannot be.
anak or
Well,
ibang...
there's a procedure for that one. Normally, they apply for the expenditure before the administrator, who will apportion and determine the validity of the expenditure. Because his main job is to preserve the estate.
To preserve the estate.
Pay the obligations first, taxes, blah, blah, blah. And then you divide the remainder to the heirs.
So the person also in charge of paying the estate tax, kasi may deadline yan sa BIR,
that's
right?
right.
It's also the administrator. So it's really smarter to make sure that you go to court and have an administrator appointed.
And sometimes they will have representations with the Internal Revenue to give a deferred payments because they don't have money yet. Normally, they don't have money.
Correct. Now, the usual procedure, at least in your experience, is it usually one of the, let's say, the children or the immediate family that becomes administrator?
Yes, normally, or sometimes it's the wife, the surviving spouse.
All right.
If there is a surviving spouse.
Incidentally, we have a caller on the line, so we'll take this call, this question. Hello, Mrs. Brooks. Good evening.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Good evening.
Good evening, Mrs. Brooks. How can we help you?
It's about my parents.
Okay.
Yeah. It was maybe early 1980s when they separated.
Okay.
And then nagkaroon po ng family ang father ko,
Okay.
which is yung pangalawa. nagkaroon siya ng
Second family.
dalawang anak. Wala po silang legal separation or annulment ng mom ko.
Okay.
Which is hanggang ngayon po, minsan pumupunta pa dito ang father ko. They're in good terms.
Okay.
It was, I think, a year ago, na nagkaroon kami ng problem again. Sa third na babae, may kinakasama ulit siya.
Bali, a third.
Second, yeah.
A
So,
third girl.
yung,
A third
oo,
woman.
yung second na babae nung dad niya, nagkaroon ng ibang kinakasama, tama ba?
Opo, yung
Okay.
pangalawa ngayon, may dalawang anak din siya.
Okay.
So, three na. Three families. Are you saying three families na yung
Oo,
father
yung
mo?
una
Parang
sila.
ganun na nga po.
Oo,
Oh,
sige.
three families na yung
Oo.
father mo. Okay. All right. Go ahead.
Retired military ang papa ko.
Okay.
So ngayon po, ang tanong ko lang po, may habol po ba ang mom ko?
Your mom and your dad are still legally married, correct?
Yes, sir.
Wala daw legal
Okay.
separation,
Alright.
ganyan.
Yeah, of course.
Pero,
Yeah.
Brooks, ang tanong mo, may habol ba doon sa, kung sakaling mamatay yung father mo? Tama ba?
Patay na ba?
Hello?
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Yung question mo ba is, kung yung mother mo ay may habol dun sa father mo, dun sa mga properties niya,
Opo.
buhay pa ba? Or
Buhay pa po siya.
Buhay pa, okay.
Buhay pa po. And then, inaano rin po namin, pagdating sa pension, solong-solo ng tatay ko. Hindi na rin po hindi na namin, parang pinaanuhan namin, in-advise namin ng mom ko na wag nang pakialaman. Pero ngayon po, parang nagkakaroon kami ng problema due to this third woman.
Okay.
third
All right.
na,
Well,
okay.
first question is...
It's not succession.
It's not a succession, but in the event that the father dies, may habol ba yung spouse?
Oh, yes, of course, definitely. Asawa eh.
Asawa, oo.
So, simulan natin. With the pension, generally, yung rules, assuming walang mga ibang nuances, kanino mapupunta yun? Kunwari, the father suddenly passes away. Yung natatanggap na pension,
That
who
will form
has a
part
right?
of his estate. Again, it becomes community property. You determine the community property, right? You divide it accordingly. The remainder will be the estate of the father. Then they will all again
if the
inherit.
beneficiary indicated in, let's say it's an SSS pension, if the beneficiary indicated is the wife, it should be going to the wife.
Should be,
diba?
yes,
Should be going to the wife.
Even,
yes.
even whoever. There's
So,
always a preference.
The long
for
and
this.
short answer, Mrs. Brooks,
Is
Yes,
yes.
sir.
is yes. Your father, sorry, your mother has a claim sa estate ng dad.
Brooks, just to add, dahil yung mother mo yung legitimate wife,
Apa.
at kasal pa rin sila, if something happens to your father, siya yung legitimate wife, yung mother mo, you may claim dun sa half nung estate. Assuming yun nga na yun yung ruling din, yung finding na court na absolute community of property. So, bali sa kanya yung half, tas yung mga legitimate child, kayo yung may karapatan din na magmana. But then, di ba na-mention mo yung pangalawang asawa, meron siyang anak dun din.
Dalawa po.
Yes. So, kung biological kids niya talaga yon, illegitimate children sila. So, they will be entitled to 1/2 nung share ninyong magkakapatid na legitimate. Pero yung pangatlong babae na may dalawa ng anak, pero hindi ata anak to ng daddy mo, right?
Anak din po niya.
Anak niya rin. O, so sila rin. Meron din share.
Meron din
So,
sila. So,
dadami lang yung mag-share, but each and every illegitimate child should only get 1/2 of your share.
Yeah, but if I may add, she doesn't have to wait for the husband to die. She can do something about it already today.
okay, and what can she do?
Well, she can already claim what's hers.
Already claim, okay.
Yeah. And Brooks, just to add since legitimate wife yung mother mo, pwede pa rin siyang humingi ng support
Yes,
from your
that's
dad
right.
kahit na may iba siyang mga babae. And again, pag may nangyari sa dad mo, the mistresses or yung mga pangalawa, pangatlong or kinakasama, they don't have any claim from your father. Okay. So I hope we answered your question.
Okay po. Ma'am, isa na lang po.
Okay.
Yes.
Sa halimbawa po ba ngayon, humabol ang mama ko sa pension niya, kumuha siya ng share niya,
Yes.
pwede po ba yun?
Pwede.
Pwede.
Oo. Kasi siya yung legitimate
Yeah.
wife.
Opo.
Okay, hope we answered your question. Ms. Brooks, thank you so much for calling.
Okay po. Thank you po.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And now we have other questions, Attorney Ding Dong.
Yes.
We have some questions from our viewers. Karen is asking, kapangalan ko pa,
Ah.
I am an illegitimate child. Do I still have a right to claim an inheritance from my biological father, even though I am not using his surname?
Yes, of course. As long as you can prove your affiliation with your dad, there's no problem.
Okay. As long as you are able to prove your affiliation.
Oo. So
Karen.
usually yung concern sila, wala naman sa birth certificate na yun yung dad ko.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't
But
matter.
kung may letter showing that he
The
was-
letters or
there's
other
a
proof to
picture,
show
other proof that there is
Alright.
really affiliation.
affiliation. All right. And recognition, no? That's right. All right. Our next question is from Terry. My great aunt passed away. She never married and has no children. Okay, never married, no children. She has 2 living siblings and 10 nieces and nephews. She has 3 parcels of land in the province, each consisting 5 acres. How will we divide these lands among us? All right. So,
Well, they're only siblings, so they all divide equally.
Yeah.
The
only siblings, no?
Yes, the
Oh, so
nieces.
yung mga pamangkin, nephews,
as a group,
nieces.
as a group. They, not as one. There's a table, but they come in as a group already.
Correct. Because if these nieces and nephews are children of a
Of
deceased,
what?
of a
Yes,
deceased
yes.
sibling, then
Then they get the share of
they
that
share
person.
as one sibling.
Yes, that's right.
But I guess we have to clarify kasi the question mentioned 2 siblings and mga nephews and
that's
nieces.
the question,
So
yeah.
I guess we have to clarify here na if the 2 siblings are also the parents of those nephews and nieces, kasi
No,
mukhang hindi
hindi na.
married yung aunt eh,
Excluded.
then wala na. It's really just the
Just the
siblings who
siblings
will
only.
inherit from your aunt. Pero kung yung ibang mga nephews and nieces doon have parents na kapatid din ng aunt, then they will get a share divided by yung bale yung makukuha dapat ng parent nila na kapatid ng aunt that passed away, yun yung ihahati sa kanila.
As a group.
Yeah.
They replace the sibling.
Oo.
All right.
Okay.
Okay.
We have one from Janice. My father died a few months ago and left no will. He is survived by my mother, 3 legitimate children, including myself, and 2 illegitimate children he fathered before marrying my mother. How will the division of the assets proceed?
Okay.
Well, as I said earlier, the share of the legitimate children is always higher. The illegitimate children only get 1/2 the share of the legitimate children from the net estate of the father.
Yeah. So basically, half of
Yes.
how you divide that is basically the legitimate children get
So-
equal portion as the spouse,
Yes.
and then the illegitimate children will
Gets
get
1/2
one half
the
of
share.
what one legitimate child
Child,
gets.
yes.
So it
And
has
again,
to be, it's a
of course-
mathematical thing.
Yeah,
Right?
Yeah.
it's accounting. It's basically.
But long and short, even kasi, di ba, she emphasized na yung dalawang illegitimate child was even before her parents got married. And, but in any case, may makukuha
doesn't
talaga
matter.
sila.
It doesn't matter.
Because they're still legitimate children of the,
Yeah, that's right.
of the father.
Okay.
We still have more to discuss with our guests. Legal Help Desk will be back, so stay tuned. You're still tuned in to Legal Help Desk on the Solar News Channel with our guest, Attorney Alfredo Lazaro Jr.
Okay, there are questions here coming in, no, na if they could question intestate succession, those who are included as compulsory heirs. Can anyone just come in and question?
Can I just suddenly say, you know what, Rod is really not my legitimate brother, or dapat na disinherit na yan kasi dati
galit yung daddy ko dyan.
masama yung ugali niya sa daddy ko, ganun.
Well, when you claim disinheritance, there must be proof, no? And you must have the corresponding paperwork to do that.
Okay, so
It's not like there must be example is what are the grounds? It must be clearly stated. Since you're the one alleging disinheritance, and you have the
But
burden of proving.
if you've already disinherited, like for instance, you're a parent, tapos merong, di ba may mga grounds for disinheritance?
Yes.
Like for instance, attempt on the life of
Yes.
the
Or
person
you
who died or
accuse
the spouse,
adultery.
or you accused, I was accused of a crime by my own child that has a certain amount of penalty. So if I disinherit Rod, for instance,
It must be in writing.
it has to be in writing. Ano pa yung
You
requirements?
must be able to prove it, present it in court, because you have to tell them you are not allowing this person to inherit.
But this is kahit buhay pa ako, kailangan ko nang gawin
You
yung
can do that before, you can do that after. It doesn't really matter.
Okay, but it has to be in writing.
It has to be in writing.
And then if I'm the person who passed away, I didn't write, I just wrote it, pero hindi ko na present sa court, my children can present that in order to exclude
it's
Rod.
evidence to show the disinheritance.
Now, yung disinheritance document ba yun, does it have to comply with the requirements of a will?
Well, it doesn't state. It just simply says they're only
So it's any document.
Yes, any document.
So it doesn't have to be...
the formalities of a
formalities of a will
no,
is not there. Because it does have...
Well,
because it does
normally
have
it's
succession.
included in a will
Yeah.
if there is you try to forgo the legitim of one person, right? So
Yes.
you claim I'm not allowing X to inherit because he did this to me. Yep, it's already in the will. But in some instances, I just want to disinherit this person because he's not a good person to me, without making any reference to the division. So you can just put it in any written instrument.
Okay. Now, let's talk about... We were talking about this... sorry. We have another caller on the line. All right. We'll take this call. I think our caller's name is Amy. Hello, Amy.
Hello, good evening po.
Yes, Amy, good evening. What's your question?
Tatanong ko lang po kasi po may naiwan po property yung magulang ng asawa ko. Alam ko namatay na po siguro 3 years ago.
Sorry.
Meron po siyang kapatid na 3. Gusto ko lang po malaman, ano po yung karapatan po sa hindi asawa ng asawa doon sa mga SSS ng kanyang mga magulang.
Parang, sorry Amy, it's medyo choppy yung line, but is it, let us know kung tama yung narinig namin. So may asawa ka at meron siyang 3 mga kapatid. So yung tanong mo is, if you have a right, kung meron ka makukuha doon sa asawa mo, tama ba?
Nung sa, ari-arian po ng iwan ng magulang, ano po yung karapatan po bilang asawa niya?
Ari-arian ng magulang ng asawa. Ari-arian ng magulang ng asawa mo?
niya.
Tama ba yan?
Okay, so namatay yung parents, pero asawa mo at saka 3 pang kapatid.
Opo, tapos namatay na po yung asawa ko.
Namatay na yung asawa mo?
niya. Okay, so kakamatay lang ng parents.
So she's asking whether she has rights to the property of her in-laws, her parents-in-laws.
Mga manugang.
Considering, mga manugang, considering meron pang kapatid yung asawa niya na namatay.
Yeah, yes, because syempre asawa niya.
Oo. So,
But
in
the
this
children,
case,
but normally it's supposed to be the children who will represent the father, right?
the children of
Their
of
kids.
Amy.
Of
Amy,
Amy,
may
may-
mga anak ba kayo?
Meron po.
Meron?
Meron?
Meron po.
Ayun.
Normally it's
So
the
yung
children.
mga anak mo, mag-i-inherit from your husband na namatay.
Opo.
Mag-i-inherit
Tapos
sila.
sa lolo't lola.
Lola, because right of
Lolo't lola,
representation.
sila yung balik. Ilan ang anak ninyo?
Dalawa po.
2. So, yung share ng mga kapatid ng asawa mo, kunwari sabihin na tigwa 1/3 bale, no? Yung sa hatian. Kunwari,
Yes, and it happens normally. Pag namatay, automatically, the
representation.
children, the husband, and the siblings will already have a right to divide. Now, she didn't state when the
nauna yung mamatay yung husband niya before the parents of her husband. So, in this case, ang mangyayari, let's assume, Amy, na kunwari 300,000 yung naiwan ng mga manugang mo, yung in-laws mo. So, mangyayari, yung 3 kapatid, no?
Opo.
Oh, so let's make the math simple. So, 3 kapatid plus the husband na pumano
Namatay.
na.
So, there are 4.
So, 4. So, sabihin natin 400,000, tigwa 100,000 sila. But since your husband already passed away,
right of inherit.
so yung 100,000 niya mapupunta dun sa 2
dalawang
anak
anak
mo.
mo.
So, tig 50,000 sila. Just as an example.
Opo.
Okay?
That's right
So,
of
malinaw?
representation.
Hope we were able to answer your question, Amy.
Salamat po.
Good evening.
Thank you.
Good evening. All right.
Okay. We still have some questions from our viewers. May is asking, my mother is the eldest daughter of my grandfather. She has 4 siblings, and they are supposed to inherit his assets amounting to 10 million pesos. My uncles and aunts are claiming that my mother does not have a share in this because she was disinherited by my grandfather years ago, but there are no legal papers proving this. What legal steps can we take to secure our mother's rights to her inheritance?
Well, you just have to open the estate and then claim what's due you.
Open
By
the
law.
estate. Open the estate.
And then
When
say
you say
that-
open the estate, Attorney Ding Dong, what do they have to do talaga?
Well, they have
on
to
a
file an
practical basis?
intestate proceeding.
Okay, file an intestate
No,
proceeding with the regional
with the
trial court.
And then you have to put there the value, they have to pay the filing fees, blah, blah,
But
blah.
absent that document proving this inheritance, the presumption is she inherits.
Yes, and everything is
the
regular.
mother intestate.
And it is the
succeeds.
siblings of yung
The-
grandmother na kailangan i-prove
Prove nila.
na talagang
There was.
na-disinherit.
Yes.
Otherwise, ang presumption would be magmamana rin.
Yes, everything is regular.
All right. All right, we have another caller on the line. The lines are burning. Good evening, Lisa.
Yes, good evening, sir.
Yes, hi. How can we help you, Lisa?
May tatanong po sana ako. Yung auntie ko po kasi widow. Namatay po siya. Tapos po, yung mga kapatid po niya, nauna nang namatay lahat. So,
Okay.
siya yung kahuli-huli ang namatay. Wala po siyang naiwang last will and testament.
Okay.
So, paano po yung magiging hatian since ang natira po ay mga pamangkin na lang niya?
Okay.
They will all inherit in equal shares.
Yung mga pamangkin will inherit in equal shares.
Equal shares
Yes.
po.
Yes.
Ah,
Kung pamangkin lang natitira, wala nang kapatid,
pamangkin na lang po, wala na pong mga
wala nang magulang. Okay, so
wala na rin po.
yung pamangkin, bali equal sharing yung mga pamangkin.
Opo, opo.
All right?
So I hope we answered your question,
Okay.
Lisa.
Okay, salamat
Thank you.
po.
Thank you. Okay, we have another question from Remy on our Facebook. My father had 4 properties in his name. He and my mother were legally separated before he passed away. He was living with another woman, and they had 2 children together. They were able to produce a fake marriage certificate to make it appear that their children were legitimate in their birth certificates. Can they be considered as legitimate children and therefore get the share that is entitled to a legitimate child? Can I contest this in court?
Of course, you can contest that in court. You can always contest the status of a child on matters of legitimacy or illegitimacy, right?
Yeah. Kasi if you can prove that your father was married before,
Yes.
di ba?
And they're legally separated.
They were just legally separated.
So they
and
could not
hindi
marry
na-
yet.
They couldn't marry, yeah.
Because they're legally
So, as
separated.
long
And
as you
then
prove that.
that would include proving na fake nga yung birth certificates
Certificate.
ng mga anak.
And yes, and it's whatever they put in the birth certificate, it's the actual status. If they were illegitimate children at that time when they were
However, there is an assumption of regularity with that marriage certificate and those birth certificates. There is a presumption of
But
regularity.
you
right?
assume it to be proper on its face. But
Yes.
the problem, when you allege it, it's not reflective of what really happened. You only have to prove there the fact that the father is still married when these kids were born.
And there was legal
Yeah.
separation
Yes.
lang and no annulment.
Yes.
And then
Alright.
maybe Attorney Ding Dong, one thing we can clarify, yung merong, you cannot contest it collaterally, no? So kailangan niya i-prove.
Direct action.
Direct action.
Direct
All right.
action.
Wow, we have another caller on the line. This time it's from Melba. Melba, good evening.
Yes. Good evening po.
Good evening, Melba. Yes, Melba, what is your question?
Kasi this is about, we are a Chinese family.
All right.
Tatlo pong lalaki, tatlong babae,
Okay.
and then yung parents give all the property to the boys.
To the boys. Okay. Hello?
So, kami po bang mga babae has the right to claim? Kasi we are legal naman na birth certificate.
And Melba, lahat kayo legitimate children.
Yes, yes.
Oo.
Okay.
Yeah, so Attorney Ding
Attorney?
Dong, di ba?
Yeah, so Chinese family. We're assuming that your parents were Filipino citizens?
And their properties, right?
Yes po. Filipino citizen po.
Filipino citizens.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so you all have a right to it.
Well, under
Claim your
Philippine law,
identity.
yes, you all have a
And
right.
of course, Melba, yung sharing ninyo, regardless if you are women, should be equal
Sure,
to your
yes.
male brothers. Dapat equal kayong lahat.
That's in the law.
Pero na-transfer na po mga 20 years ago.
Na-transfer na 20 years ago. To your brothers, you mean, na-transfer na 20 years ago.
Yes.
You still have to file law. You can still file.
20 to 30 years ago.
Pwede pa
May-
ba?
may
Attorney
prescription
Ding
na ba
Dong,
yan? May
20 to 30
prescription ba
years
yan?
ago,
I think
na-distribute
so. Medyo
na.
matagal-tagal na
Oo.
rin. There is a time when you can contest the
May
transfer.
prescription po ba yan?
May prescription ba yun? Kung 30
20
years
to
ago,
30
20 years ago.
daw.
Meron, may prescriptive period. Yan. Siyempre, lahat ng bagay ng actions, there is a period.
But Melba, I would suggest that you consult a lawyer talaga to show kung ano yung
Kailan?
mga legal documents that
Ano yung
proves yung transfer, yung kailan sila nag-settle, or at least yung yung registration of the transfers, because baka naman pasok pa kayo dun sa prescriptive period.
Normally, you can argue from its discovery, so to make it run later.
How long po yung prescriptive period?
Usually, in this
Normally, it's a written document, right? There is the
10,
provision.
pagka written document, 10 years.
Oo.
But again, yung katulad nga na sinabi ni Attorney Ding Dong, for other matters din kasi, they take into account yung discovery. Meaning,
Yes.
kung kailan mo ba na-discover
Discover.
na linipat pala sa kanila, na in-exclude kayo. So, from there, look at the paper trail. Ano yung mga documents na hawak ninyo? Kasi baka naman sa ibang bagay nag-prescribe na, pero baka dun sa iba hindi pa.
And the fact of
mahabol
transfer
pa.
should have put them on notice already that there was already a transfer of that.
Kasi parang lumalabas yan, parang you waived your rights, no?
that's
You waived your
right.
rights.
They're in
Kasi,
scope.
usually kung wala kang title and you were occupying a particular piece of property, normally prescription 30 years without title, di ba? Pero in this case kasi nagkaroon ng transfer, there was a document, and mukhang I think based on what we know, no, it seems like 10 years lang yung prescriptive period. So, but again, it will always be best that if you consult a lawyer, show him all the documents showing the transfer to your brothers. Yan. All right? All right.
Pero kung other sisters who want name, ako pwede pati makapush nyo, no?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah. You
yes,
can,
right.
because kahit hindi na interesado yung mga ibang mong sisters, ikaw, if you're interested, since you have that
Yes.
right, pwede mo ipaglaban yon. So, look at basically the documents that you have. Baka naman yung iba, pasok pa within the prescriptive period. But again, consult a lawyer para you can show what you have. Okay?
Okay po.
Okay. Thank
Okay.
you, Melba. Sayang
Thank you,
hindi
Melba.
siya maagang nakatanong sa legal help desk. Kung
Okay.
years ago pa, di ba? She could have gotten her share. Thank you. Good luck, Melba. Okay.
All right.
So, daming tumawag, Attorney Ding Dong. We'd like to thank our guest, Attorney Alfredo Lazaro Jr., Head of the Lazaro Law Firm and Professor of Law at the Pamantasan ng Lungsod ng Manila, for being with us tonight.
Thank you,
Thank
Attorney
you very
Ding Dong.
much,
Thank you for
and thank you for
inviting us.
helping us answer questions.
Thank you for inviting me.
Legal Help Desk will return after these reminders. Welcome back to Legal Help Desk on the Solar News Channel. And today we tackle a very relevant topic.
I know, and we had so many callers. I think that was our world record in terms of number of call-ins.
No,
no?
but I
Kasi,
think,
yeah.
Rod, this shows basically
Yeah.
how when it comes to inheritance, a lot of people, Filipinos, still do not have a will or they don't
Yeah.
plan ahead, diba?
It's a common problem, no,
Yes.
for most Filipinos. I think they don't want to do a will because they think it's morbid and all that. But I think it's always best to have. But since it does happen where people don't normally have a will, we have what we call intestate succession, where the law provides the sharing of mga heirs mo, on the property. So I guess the first things first, no, if there is a child, in other words, a child or children, all right, that is general rule, descendants exclude ascendants, all right. So that means if you have children, and you don't have a will, the children inherit solely and exclude the parents and the grandparents, etc., and all the
And
other.
then, of course,
so yun yung
if,
general rule mo. You
and
start
then,
with
of
that rule.
course, if you have a legal wife, legal husband, unang-una, with the estate, especially kung wala kayong prenuptial agreement, the assumption is hati, sa gitna, 50-50 kayo. So you take out the 50% share of the legal spouse first. And then yung matitira, the legal wife or legal husband gets the same amount of share as the legitimate children. And now, if you have illegitimate children as well, then each illegitimate child will have a half of the share of a legitimate child.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's always best because this is a kind of complex matter. No? It's actually a mathematical problem. And usually you have the estate, which is 100% like that, and then may mga percentage sharing na naka-indicate sa law. So it's always best to confer with a lawyer and perhaps an accountant because you'll have to collate. The thing what's going to happen is that you're going to have to collate, put together all your assets and list them all down, and the liabilities of the estate, then you have a particular number, and that's what you then divide according to the percentage shares that are indicated in the civil code. So it's always best to consult a lawyer and possibly an accountant who will compute the value of the estate. Now, we still have a caller on the line, so we'd like to talk to Rose this time. Rose, good evening.
Hi, good evening.
Hi. So, do you have a question regarding
Yes.
intestate succession? Yes.
My question is this. Both of my parents have passed away a long time ago.
All right.
When my mother passed away, my father gave me the title on the property that we own.
Yes. Okay.
At that time, my father lived with me in the United States. I'm from the United States.
Okay.
So times went by. He came back home to the Philippines as a balikbayan.
Mm-hmm.
Ironically, he died of a heart attack in the heat of the weather or whatever caused him to die.
Okay.
I have had the title since 1967.
Okay.
I have not done anything about transferring it in my name or anything like that because I was busy raising my children and family in the United States.
Okay.
Incidentally, all 4 siblings lived in the United States. We're all American citizens.
All right.
Now that I'm retired, I've been a widow for 31 years, I would like to know what if I can still transfer it in my name because it is still in my parents' name. The taxes have been paid on a regular basis because the income of the property was put into the taxes, whatever it needed.
Okay.
And it was my brother that was in charge of that, the one that lived here most of the time.
Well, you have a document. You have a
But
document?
Rose, I'm
Yes,
just curious
yes,
because
yes.
based on your story, your dad just gave you the title. But
Yeah,
did he write?
When he gave it to me, he told me that take care of this. This is yours. You can do whatever you please with it. At that time,
Okay.
but
and
I didn't think much of it because when he gave it to me, my mother had just passed away. So I put it away. I kept it in a safe place, and until now I have it. I travel with it.
okay.
You know, from
But Rose, when your father gave this to you, it seems like oral lang. No? Your
Yes,
father
there
did
was
not
no-
write any
there
deed
was
of
no
donation.
formal- Yes, my parents are one of those people that, like I heard over your program, they don't discuss death in the family.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
common.
That's one of the most.
Yeah.
Even now, you know, as we speak, my brother that just passed away, he did not even know.
Okay.
Okay.
And Rose, do you have other siblings?
Yes, I
Apart from your
have-
brother.
Yeah,
I have
four.
the 2 are in the United States, the younger brother and my youngest sister. There are
So
2
there are
boys
4.
and 2 girls in the family.
Okay, and then the other sibling is here, right?
No, he just died.
Oh, he just died.
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
Based purely on what you're saying, there was no real title that was transferred from you, from the parents to you.
No, there was no formal
All right,
title.
so-
No.
Okay, so Rose, the thing is...
And I went to check it if the taxes are being paid. They are.
Okay. Rose,
But there was never a transfer. The names are still in my parents.
Okay.
Rose, I guess the unfortunate thing here is that it seems like your dad intended to give the property to you only.
Yes.
That's why he gave you the title. Except
Yes.
that in our law kasi, when you're giving away real property, there has to be a writing. It has to
Yes.
be written. It
I
has
agree.
to be notarized. So that's a problem, and he had already passed away. So what happens now to that property is actually it is part of his estate that should have been distributed when he passed away.
Yes.
So
I have no qualms about that. I am more than happy to share it to whoever deserves to get it.
Oh, and how
Yes.
nice of
Oh,
Rose.
that's nice of
I'm
you.
not-
Yeah.
I'm not here to think that I own the property all by myself. No. I am here to
Confirm.
to
To confirm.
to convert the property into whoever deserves. You know, like my
Yeah.
my brother and my sister even though they verbally have told me, I told them, you have to put it in writing that you are giving your share to me.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
And
that's
they are willing to do that.
So that's what you can
However,
do. So what you can do is basically transfer that. So right now it forms part of the estate of your dad. So you just have to pay estate taxes on the value of that property. So as soon as you pay the estate taxes, it can be distributed to you and yung rightful heirs, meaning your surviving siblings,
Yeah.
and for your brother who passed away, kung meron siyang mga anak, dun technically mapupunta yung shares niya. But if all of those other co-heirs of yours want to waive them in your favor because they know as well that your dad really intended to give it to you, they can waive their shares in your favor.
Via an extrajudicial partition, actually. So you can have a document indicating, and where your siblings sign it, and they're saying that they're waiving their rights over this property. That can be done.
okay.
All right.
Something like power of attorney, something like that?
That's different. It's really an actual judicial partition. Yung kailangan ng power of attorney would be if you have, for instance, you mentioned some of your siblings abroad and they cannot be physically here to execute some documents, then they can execute powers of attorney in favor of either some of your nephews or nieces or your other siblings here. So, ganon. It's basically, power of attorney is for the execution of documents. Pero yung dapat na signatories would be the heirs talaga. Meaning, mga surviving na kapatid mo and your mga nephews and nieces, if any, from your brother who passed away.
Yeah.
Yes. And actually, you know, I don't live here. I just came here to, you know, for as a visitor.
All right.
But this came to mind because I have, like I said, if my brother hadn't died, I didn't even think of doing anything about it.
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe start doing something about it para hindi naman sayang.
Yeah. You have to fix
I do
things.
not know anybody in this in Philippines.
Well, you can.
Consult a lawyer,
You can consult a lawyer, or you can send us a message in our Facebook page, and we'll probably try to help endorse you to a lawyer who can probably help you.
Well, I need a lawyer really bad.
All right. Check our Facebook page.
Myself.
All right. Check.
I'm not. You know what? I'm very poor. And I'm not high tech, and I even hate my cell phone.
Oh, okay.
But
Well,
so what I'll do is I'll take a number that I can call so that I can follow this through.
well, maybe we
Okay.
can talk off the air. We'll probably advise you on how to reach us.
I'm one of those who refuse to learn new things. I'm retired. I'm almost 75 years old. This is time for me to start learning these new things. I just hate to think
Sige.
about it.
Yeah.
Sige, Rose. Good
Thank
luck,
you.
and
Good
I
luck.
hope we can help you.
Yes,
All right,
I'm
thank you,
sorry that I pushed through this program. I just needed someone to talk
No
to.
problem. We're happy to help.
problem.
Happy to
Thank
help.
you so much.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
How cute of Rose. Buti nanonood siyang TV.
We should teach her. We should teach her
Yeah.
to do Facebook.
Yes. So we have received some comments from our viewers. Nikki posted on our Facebook page, I am a law student and I make it a habit to watch your program every week. Simply studying the law in books may be quite technical at times. Your show teaches how the law works. Very helpful in my studies. Thanks, Legal HD. That's so cute. Thank
very
you,
nice.
Nikki, and I hope you keep watching us.
I know. Wow. Thank you, Nikki. And we hope we help you. And we hope to become a lawyer someday who will be a guest in our show. All right. That's all the time that we have for tonight. We would like to thank all of our viewers who sent us their legal questions via social media. Now, if you have any more questions or comments on tonight's episode, you may send these to our Facebook and Twitter pages. I'm Attorney Rod Nepomuceno.
And I'm Attorney Karen Jimeno. If you have missed any of our previous episodes, you may watch these at your convenience, anytime, anywhere, by downloading the Solar News Channel app from Google Play and the Apple App Store. Join us again next Monday as we discuss your legal rights. Good night.
Right,
You have
there are
a
five.
little
There are
wife?
five. 4 kids and a wife, you divide it into 5.
Divided into 5. So that's yung mathematics. Now, let's just for our televiewers, appreciation. Whenever you talk about that, we have to take into consideration already the 1/2 share of the spouse. Let's remove
There's a community property.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
you have to. Yes.
Yeah.
So in this case, 1 million
yeah.
pesos, just as an example, you have 1 legitimate wife, 4 kids. So the legitimate wife will have one half
of the
of the estate. So it's only going to be 500,000. And then you divide that among the 4 kids and the wife, so they go 100,000 pesos.
So the wife basically gets her 50% and then gets to share as one legitimate child in that what you call the estate of the decedent. No?
And we have to clarify to our audience, this is the case if the spouses do not have a prenuptial agreement, or if basically they were married under the family code na may absolute community of property, meaning hati talaga 50-50 yung totality na assets ng husband and the wife.
So that's a simple thing.
But you're talking about dissolution of the community property. That is, I think, the premise. So
Correct.
Trying to simplify here. Yeah.
That's right. Now, okay. So to simplify things, if you don't have children, it's just a spouse. The spouse gets everything.
And
right?
whoever.
But if you have, let's say, if there's a spouse and my parents are still alive, or my parents are still alive and I have a spouse,
there'll be a division.
There'll be a division of.
Magkano yung mga hatian nila? Let's go to 1 million pesos again.
Normally half-half.
Normally
Okay.
half-half. Half to the spouse.
Half to the,
and
half
to
to the parents. So it's going to
There's
be,
actually,
again,
you know,
take away the 500,000, that's the half of the wife, and then 500,000, 250 to the wife, 250,000, kailangan mag-share yung parents nung
So
deceased spouse.
these are all in the table, right?
There's a table.
There's a table for
Just divide the properties among them.
extrajudicial settlement. Okay.
So
And in this case, while they're agreeing na, okay, let's just divide this organized way among ourselves, that's what you call extrajudicial settlement. At what point do you go to court?
Well, if you suppose it's somebody, you have to, for example, who are the heirs? You have to go to court to determine who are those who are entitled to get a part of the estate. Some people normally have a problem determining as to who are the legitimate heirs, who are the illegitimate children, and blah, 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 as it goes on, as it goes on.
And who are the compulsory heirs, diba?
Well, basically, it's the legal heirs normally have to fight, like, he's not my brother. The other one says, no, he is our half-brother. So you have to go to prove filiation already. You have to go to court for that one.
Okay.
So, Attorney Ding Dong, just to clarify, if someone passes away, regardless if you among your siblings are in agreement that tayo-tayo na lang, we don't need lawyers, you still have to go to court right away to open the estate for
No, not necessarily.
succession?
You can have an approval of the extrajudicial settlement. Like you
Just
want
an
to
approval
divide,
of the,
yeah.
you have a deal
But this is
already.
assuming na wala nga nagko-contest na I'm a sibling, I'm a...
Yes, it becomes complicated when you're rich. Because there's so many assets to do. But when it's as much, the premise is a simple family with the modest, then you can easily divide them.
You have that extrajudicial settlement too. Okay, this property is yours, this property is yours. But really, they're guided, I suppose, by a particular proportionate sharing provided by the law, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay, so as a general rule,
Normally, children inherit in equal shares. That's basically, everything is equal.
everything is
It's
equal.
Now,
right?
with the wife will have the same share as a legitimate child.
Okay, so basically you have 100% of this is the estate.
Yes.
And
Assuming
they have
1 million
yeah.
pesos yung value. No?
Yeah.
Whole
Then
estate.
you
Yeah.
divide.
Filipinos are not fond of talking about death, thinking that to do so is morbid. This is why it has never been a common practice to prepare a will, because most people do not want to think about their deaths. In the Philippines, it is more common for an heir to receive his inheritance through intestate succession, as applied by Chapter 3 of the Civil Code of the Philippines. Intestate succession is the legal succession of an heir to their inheritance in the absence of a will. The division of inheritance is in accordance with the relationship or the degree of the relationship of the deceased to the heir or benefactor. The Civil Code of the Philippines has provided rules on how the division of the deceased properties will take place. However, many Filipinos still find this confusing. Others think that it is not fair, while the rest wonder if this can be contested in court. In the case of intestate succession, how should the properties be divided amongst loved ones? Who should get the bigger share of the inheritance according to the law? And can an intestate succession be contested by the descendants? Good evening. You're watching Legal Help Desk on the Solar News channel. This show is about making the law work for you by giving legal advice on topics that matter to you. I'm Attorney Karen Jimeno.
And I'm Attorney Nepomuceno. In continuation of our topic last week, tonight we will discuss your legal rights on intestate succession, what you need to know about intestate, or what we call legal succession, and the division of inheritance among heirs according to the Civil Code of the Philippines.
Our guest for tonight is Attorney Alfredo Lazaro Jr., head of Lazaro Law Firm and Professor of Law at the Pamantasan ng Lungsod ng Manila. Good evening and thank you for being with us. Attorney Ding Dong.
Hi,
Attorney Ding Dong, good evening.
Hi,
Thank
good
you
evening.
for joining us. And last week our topic was about testate succession, so meaning succession with a will. So now we're going to be talking about succession naman because we couldn't handle it in one episode.
So simply,
it's
I
very
guess we
complicated,
focused last week on how do you make sure na organize yung pagpapamana mo, or what to make sure na maging valid yung will, what you have to observe. But this time, I think this is the more common situation for most Filipinos.
Yeah.
Someone passes away related within the family na walang written will.
And ironically, probably more complex and more complicated.
It depends on the factual.
All right, so let's start with intestate succession. So intestate succession happens when you don't have a will. Maybe we'll start off with what happens. Okay, so a person dies, no will. What does a family do?
Well, the first thing you do is
Hold awake.
Apart from that.
Besides that is, of course, when you have to go to court already and open the estate of whoever died. And
So it has to be always in court.
Yes, well, there's no will. Right?
That's a default. But I guess later we'll talk about yung exception. Pag talagang sobrang liit ng properties, you can
There are
divide among yourselves.
That's what you call division of a small estate.
Sige, let's go first to, assuming you have a
reasonable
relatively,
estate. Let's say you have a
sized
reasonable estate.
So
Yes, and the heirs normally are in agreement that they can have an extrajudicial settlement. Yes, there's a lot of scenarios like who are the surviving heirs,
Okay.
right?
Yes.
Entitled to succession. So there are legitimate children, illegitimate children, ascendants.
Yeah,
there's
maraming permutations.
A lot of
Maraming permutations.
variations, yes.
All right, let's talk about the exclusions. Meaning if a particular heir is around, sino ma-exclude as a compulsory heir? So for example, if you have children, automatically excluded yung ascendants.
meaning yung mga tito, tita,
Parents,
mga
even parents.
parents,
Yes.
okay, lolo't lola.
All right, okay, so that's clear.
That's
But
clear.
if you have let's say a spouse does not exclude
No,
anyone.
no.
So basically, if you have a spouse, the spouse will have to share with everyone else.
Well, let's put it this way: if the scenario is no kids, no ascendants, the spouse
Gets everything. Correct. All right, let's complicate things a little bit. Yung illegitimate children, we all know.
Yeah.
Well,
That's-
again,
that's
Illegitimate
quite
children,
yeah.
how much would be a share of an illegitimate children?
well, an illegitimate child gets, assuming that there are legitimate children, he or she will get 1/2 the share of a legitimate child.
Legitimate child.
So,
Okay.
in
Now,
our,
if there are no other kids, like example is a playboy, he has no wife,
No wife.
all illegitimate
all
children.
illegitimate children.
Then they all get the entire estate.
they get the entire, they will
Provided
divide
nobody
it.
is-
But what if the illegitimate children survive with the parents? Can the parents claim that they have a share? And normally,
The
di ba?
the legitimate-
Yes.
yes, of course.
So the parents will have a share apart
No,
from
but normally,
the legitimate.
but the descendants normally excludes the one.
Exclude the
Yeah,
parent.
so in this case, the parents cannot argue that lahat naman ng anak namin, ng son namin, are illegitimate. Therefore, we are the only ones entitled to his estate. Is that
In other words,
correct?
I guess the question is, does the